Dad was describing how basically let the clutch out and it sort of felt and sounded like it was in the wrong gear, like if you try and pull away in third instead of first. Put it into first, it kind of did that kind of struggle to pull away again. Then there was a bit of a bang and that's happened. You can probably see there's a massive hole in the gearbox. In this episode of Super Seicento, we're going to pull out what broke, find out why it broke, and then we're going to fix it. Hello you lot, Miller Corner here and welcome back to Super Seicento. And if you saw the previous episode where we're rebuilding my Fiat Seicento Sporting, you'll know that we managed to get my now tuned 1242cc engine into the car. However, in the process of reinstalling the thing, we hit a slight issue when we had a massive explosion in the gearbox/diff area. It was pretty mysterious, to be honest with you, and it did put the build, restoration, rebuild back a little bit, but on the plus side, the engine is in and running. With a totally exploded diff, the car obviously doesn't drive at the moment, but today we're going to pull the old gearbox off, put a new gearbox on, and we're going to dissect it to try and find out what stopped my car from getting back on the road just a little bit sooner. After finding a split radiator hose causing an extremely annoying occasional coolant drip, we carefully remove the protective plate from the bell housing. Good, well it's off. Next we knock the pin off of the hub nut, buzz it off with the rattle gun and unbolt and remove the brake disc. The suspension strut is under tension, so we have to remove the nuts before jacking the hub up with a gearbox jack to take the weight off. The strut bolts can then be pulled out and the drive shaft removed from the hub. With a bit of help from old Persuader, the drive shaft then comes out of the gearbox, thankfully intact. Sadly though, the same can't be said for the diff.
I think that's a crown wheel. Yeah, it fell down, it's in there.
Oh, that little bit moving around?
Yeah.
Is that what's happened then?
Well, that drive shaft was through that crown wheel, so the problem isn't with that one, it's with this side then.
We then repeat the drive shaft removal on the other side, unbolting the hub nut, removing the strut bolts, and then tapping the shaft until it pops out. Hey. Next we go to undo the upper bell housing bolts, but for some reason neither of us can even crack them.
Are we going the right way here?
No, it's on do up, that's probably... God, that would have been a royal up. After avoiding that potential embarrassment, the starter motor is unbolted and the gear selector bracket and earth straps are unbolted and removed. Then we go under the car to support the engine with the gearbox jack before working out our game plan for removing the gearbox mounts.
Yeah, we do mount at the back, then we've got one bolt there,
bell housing,
and one bolt up here. We've got a big bolt, and then we've got those two. One there, one here, one there, one there.
and then in theory this should come out.
Yeah.
But first I think we have tea. Minutes noted and tea drank, it's game time. I start by removing the rear gearbox mount. Okay, that's got a bit of box on it. That mount has got a bit of case attached to it.
Is it? No,
just pull it off. Wow.
Oh look, there's teeth in there.
There's teeth in there and there's a bit of gearbox actually on the bracket. That used to be gearbox. Wow.
Different there.
Oh. We need the mount and the bolts to go on the new box, so next it's over to the bench vise to remove the piece of broken case from the bracket.
Okay.
2 rumbles of DAC. With the piece of case removed and consigned to the bin, we then unbolt the side gearbox mount before invoking some serious gains to lift the old box out.
Right, it's coming now.
Right, we're out. Straight down. Oh, we're safe. Up close, you can see quite how destroyed this box really is.
You see this here? That's a hole right in the side of it. That's exactly where things went wrong.
But what exactly did go wrong?
That's where the drive shaft's got to go. Into there.
So we put the drive shaft into that and it popped it out.
I think the bearing got shook down. That's what the problem was, I think.
Bearing fell into the hole and then the drive shaft tries to turn it, which is why it felt like it couldn't pull forward, didn't it? It was sort of turning against itself. And then eventually just so much force that bang, We worked out what killed the old box, and now it's time to lift the new one in. It weighs around 35 kilos and neither of us are weightlifters, so this is actually a lot harder than it looks. With the gearbox jack supporting the engine, we don't have the luxury of being able to take this slowly, so we have to struggle with the box in order to get it lined up with all the bolt holes and the locating dowel on the bell housing. It's a big struggle, but eventually the gearbox is on.
Yes!
Unfortunately, my celebration is premature, as I then have to hold the gearbox essentially single-handed while my dad makes sure all the bolt holes are clear and gets the bolts through. Lifting 35 kilos of gearbox above my head is insane, but I'm motivated by the fun this gearbox will bring with it. After what feels like an age, the bolts are secured and I can take a breath before bolting the side gearbox mount up, meaning the jack can be lowered and released.
Yeah.
Next, the rear gearbox mount is bolted up before the car's lowered and I get the upper bell housing bolts in. With the upper bolts secure, I can then tighten up the lower rear mount before the lower bell housing bolts are also tightened. Now here's my dad's extremely detailed guide on refitting a clutch cable.
In there, up there, out there, all through there, like that, and this goes through your clutch fork. You just wind that white nut up. So if the clutch doesn't clear, you pull the lever back a bit, put a few more turns on it. That little chap there is the reverse light, so we'll plop him in while we're here. What else can we do underneath? Drive shafts.
Yes. Here we go then.
Drive shaft insertion is what caused the problem last time, so there is some tension as we line up and guide the first shaft in as gently and smoothly as we can. The shafts go into the hubs before the struts and track rods are bolted back on. Mercifully, both shafts are easily reinstalled, so we reconnect the earth straps to the engine and the box, as well as the starter motor and gear linkages. With the car up in the air, the bell housing protection plate goes on, and then it's on to oil. With the drain nut cracked, we anxiously wait for oil to come flooding out of the box.
Maybe he drained it before he sent it.
The gearbox is totally empty, so we use this cool hand pump to fill the box up with oil, continuing to pump it in until it dribbles out of the fill hole. And you can always rely on my dad to not tempt fate in these situations.
That'd be lovely.
It's going to work and everything.
All that new oil whizzing around all them knackered old cogs in that.
Not knackered old cog.
Dry old cogs is what I meant, not knackered. That was the wrong word. Anyway.
Don't say knackered, don't tempt fate.
With fingers crossed, we turn the drive shafts to get the oil moving through the box, and it's all looking good on first inspection.
Both turning, and it's not exploded at this point, so that's probably a good start.
With the gearbox swap complete and everything refitted, it's time to start the car and see if it works. It's alive! The Super Seicento runs, and in neutral it's gently turning the hubs without any problems. After some checks under the car, it's time to see if it spins them up under load in gear. It works! The car spins up the hubs in all the gears with no complaint, which means that the new gearbox is a success. And with no exhaust on it, it sounds pretty damn awesome too. Gearbox in, we've done it. We've changed from this blown up old thing to a much more functional and in one piece gearbox and diff combination. We've now got to the bottom of what killed this box and diff, and we've made sure that it's not going to happen again. We're getting closer and closer to my car getting back on the road now. With most of the mechanical stuff done, we've got only a few more big bits to do and a few more little bits to finish off, and then my car will be fighting fit and ready to get back on the road for that first hoon, and I cannot wait for that day. That is a story for another day though, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you are notified when the next episode of Super Seicento is released. But for now, thanks very much for watching everybody, and have a brilliant rest of your day. See you soon, and have a good one.